I'm about to head back into these same woods that I almost was killed in the other day and do some bushcrafting, cinematography, experimenting type stuff today. And hopefully you will find it interesting. So come along with me. So I am back in the same place I was on Sunday. It's now Wednesday, the 15th of January. Another fantastic warm January day, warm for Alabama. Seems like that's a trend now. Climate change. Anyway, I'm back at the crossroads at the end of this trail. That's where I went last time. It started raining, I turned around, and then all hell broke loose about halfway back to the truck. But I'd spied these trails here, and I wanted to come back down and hike them. This one seems to be the path less traveled. I think I'm going to take that. This one looks like almost like a four-wheeler trail. I may not be able to take that one today, but I did want to come back and hike this trail. And the big thing that I wanted to do today, besides getting out and hiking, is do some cinematography and some more experimentation. Sometimes I come off like I'm an expert. I never claim to be an expert on anything because I don't think I am. But I do have a lot of experience filming, and I know I've got enough experience to know what works and what doesn't. And more particularly, I understand what I enjoy watching, and there's a few techniques, cinematography I call it, and this is just one of them, sticking a camera on a selfie stick. This is a relatively new technique in cinematography. Don't think they had a lot of this stuff back before camera phones. I mean, there was enough. I was putting cameras on the sticks several years back before, I don't know, several years back before. I think it was probably about the time cell phones started putting decent cameras in the phones. I'd probably been doing it about a couple of years just because it stabilized the camera. And in this case, the phone, I'm shooting with my Moto G7 again. Crappy little $250 phone. And it does pretty well. But I did a video on, a couple of videos on the selfie stick itself, the one I'm using, and another one that's more importantly, if you ever think about using your camera as a phone, or your phone as a camera, this selfie stick works really good. But I made a video about filming with a selfie stick and why it's so important. Not just with camera phones, but any kind of a device. If you're moving around, you don't want to be holding the camera in your hand. Anyway, check that out. I'll link that up here. Yes. Wait a minute. Up here. So anyway, some cinematography today, and all I've got is this walking stick, because I don't know what I'm about to get into, but I know the trail around the corner is pretty difficult. It's not for old men, especially fat, old, out of shape men. But this will help keep me upright, hopefully, if I do run into anything. It looks pretty steep. So I think more importantly, I realized the other day that I really need to keep coming out into the woods because I really enjoy it, number one. And I need the exercise, number two, and I need the stress relief because I've been working a great deal lately, and it's wearing on my mind and my body. I mean, sitting in front of a computer every day for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, depending on what I've got to do, can be physically taxing on your body because you're not doing anything, you're not moving, you're working your fingers on the keyboard and mouse. It's not hard work, it's hard mentally, And staring at a screen for several hours of the day while sitting on your ass can be mentally taxing, but most importantly, I think, is the physical side, just sitting on my ass. And being able to get out here in the woods and exercise, get some fresh air, is mentally and physically healing. Well, sometimes it's physically healing. Most of the times, I would hope. Sometimes lately, I've just torn my body up because I don't use it like I used to. Exercise is very important, young people. You don't realize how important it is until you're old. And when you don't get it, your body you feel like crap. I remember when I got out of the Army, probably the most physically fit. Well, I don't know. I was probably better fit a few years before, maybe when I was a freshman in college. But years later, when I got out of the Army, they made sure you stayed in shape. You trained and stayed in shape. And even then, before I got out, I stopped doing as much PT as I should have. But I did it much more consistently in the Army than I did probably ever before in my life. But I would say probably a month, 2 months out of getting out, after I stopped exercising, I started feeling like shit. I'll have to bleep that because YouTube will delete my videos if I don't. This is a nice creek. I'm also looking for camping spots, and I'm gonna have to take a picture at the trailhead up here. It's got a couple of plaques, but nothing on them, so it doesn't say no camping, no fires, none of that stuff. So maybe I'm gonna have to sneak back down in here because there's no signs. Anyway, nice creek. I don't know what's upstream, but how bad could it be? I usually bring a filter along with me when I'm camping for more than a day or two, or lots of water. I got about a liter today in my bladder. Not the bladder that is inside my body, the one that's inside my pack. Anyway, exercise. If this thing is not what you're looking for, if this video is not what you're looking for, I understand. It's just something that I feel like I've got to do. I've got to express myself in other ways. Not just that. I've been doing a lot of how-to videos lately, but expressly how-to video. I'm trying to prod people that are not telling their story to tell their story, and I want to help them tell their story. I want to inspire everybody that is doing anything other than their daily adventures, picking up the kids. And I don't really care if that's what you want to do. Taking the kids to soccer practice, film the kids' soccer practice, do all that stuff. But tell a story. And that's kind of what I was apologizing for. I don't want to scare a bunch of people off that are here to watch motorcycle videos. But I also feel like I've got to tell my story. And the story today involves more of the same, the stuff I've been doing the last couple of weeks, which is walking through the woods, telling my story as an example, while hopefully sharing some interesting ways for you to share your story. And, as always, I'm always experimenting. So I know I've got a pretty big picture from the last 30 years of shooting video. I've got a pretty big picture, 30,000 foot view of what works for me and what doesn't. But I'm always experimenting. I always see stuff that other people are doing, and I go, I wonder if that's going to be hard to do. Or how did they make that shot? This is cool. This is a big creek. and it's relatively flat. Oh, this is, I wasn't expecting this much. I was expecting this to go down to the freaking, thought this was going to go down to the freaking lake, but this is definitely on my camping list now. So you will definitely see my ass in here camping. The question I've got is, am I going to bring the bike in here? I think probably yes. Right now I'm thinking absolutely yes. Only because I don't want to park at the trailhead. I don't want my truck spending 2 nights up there in the middle of the woods with nobody's patrolling this area. Maybe the sheriff comes through here once, twice, 3 times during the week, but he's not coming here at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now this is nice. I bet this is swampy and infested with mosquitoes in the summer, but it sure is nice today. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying. I've got several reasons for getting out here today. Number 1, I'm telling a story that I hope some of you will find interesting. Number 2, I'm trying to inspire you guys to tell your story and, start shooting some video. And I'm going to try to help everybody, the new folks, the newbies, or the people that have been shooting video and haven't done anything with it or don't know how to tell their story. I'm not sure I can babysit everybody, but I'm going to try to do the best I can with the most people within reason. Like today, my intention is to shoot some video and experiment between some woodcraft tools. I had somebody comment on a recent stealth camping video that I should do this and I should do that. Well, one of the things he said was I should use a folding saw. Well, I've used a folding saw. I don't like it. I like the fact that it's small and folds up and you can put it in your pocket, and that's about it. But I just recently purchased a new camp axe and I freaking love it. Only thing I don't like about it is it's heavy, but it's an axe. But also, that's why I've never really carried an axe much. I bet it's been 15, 20 years since I carried an axe. They're heavy. And when you're packing, when you're riding around on a motorcycle, yeah, I may not be coming down here on the bike. If I do, I've got to get it off the trail. I'm not sure I want to climb up this, or hell, that trail back there, because I don't want to rip up the trail. But it's so steep, I'm thinking now I may not be able to get in here now without ripping up the trail. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Trying to think while all this stuff is boiling through my head. This is a great place to camp. So back to my guy that commented suggesting I use a folding saw. I'm like, hey, they really don't work for me. I would entertain a collapsible bow saw, but the little folding saws, I mean, they're really sharp. They're really nice to have for small, branches and, things that you can cut through in a certain length of time. Processing firewood. I think what he was trying to say is using he said knife, good knife, folding saw, and I said, well, I always carry a knife when I go camping. So I think what he's saying is replace the axe with the knife, and you can process. Well, you could split wood, but also I think maybe there is some significant differences camping in the east versus the west. There is significant differences, and that goes back to the fire. He mentioned the fire ring, and I said, yeah, you guys may need fire rings out west, because you look at the woods wrong out west and this damn thing catches fire. Out here, you got to really work at it to make things burn around here, which is one of the problems in general, getting a fire started with soaking wet wood. You know, everything's damp now. It's been raining for the past week. But this is not much different than it normally looks. And this is the South. It's very humid out here. Things stay wet. We do have droughts. When we have droughts in the South, they tell you, hey, well, you know, be careful burning stuff. Some of the cities and counties around the state will completely outlaw trash burning, things like that. You know, when things get to be like that, you gotta be careful. But it's rare. I mean, we have an occasional drought. You know, every 2 or 3 years we'll have a drought. Every 7 to 10 years we'll have a severe drought. And things become much more like the West. But most of the time, I mean, it's kind of like saying, going into the jungle and saying no fires. You got to work hard to burn the jungle. I mean, I know they do, but they work hard at it. They work hard at making the jungle burn. And that's not quite the same plane as it is out here. Okay, I don't know if you could tell. This is a steep incline. So I'm glad I brought my walking stick with me today, because I may just bust my ass without it or with it. Everything's slick. I'm walking on wet leaves. And this is definitely a washed out trail here. This has been eroded. This is starting to become a drainage rather than, let me just take a little detour around this tree fall. And this looks like a recent tree here that fell. Yeah, I bet this fell the other day. I bet this fell on Sunday, because yeah, usually the damage is much greater at the top of the hills, and that's fresh, still got green leaves on there, so I bet that, yeah, there's one that fell too. It looked like it knocked both these down. All right. So I've got my tracking app on so I don't get lost out here. I'm not sure if this trail splits here. Kind of hard to tell. There's a lot of downfall here. I don't see any clearings over there. I'm just going to assume there's nothing over there. So maybe what I'll do, there's somebody's pontoon boat sitting out there. I wonder if that's somebody's house. I bet it is. So what I might consider doing is going and talking to Corps of Engineers and say, hey, trail over here is looking kind of funky. Mind if I go in there and clean it with a chainsaw and my motorcycle? I bet they're gonna say, well, I may do all that after I come out here camping, so if they do tell me no, I'm not the guy that they told no. Because there's not any signs. There's not any signs that say no camping. There's not any signs that say no motorcycles. I wonder if they've got a code in their regular manual. Looks like we've got some disturbances on the ground. I don't know if that's deer. Kind of hard to tell, there's so many leaves out here. But the leaves are being disturbed. Kind of hard to tell just by looking at leaves, but they're disturbed. And it looks like something heavy this way has been. Yeah, I'm so lost. I lost my train of thought. This trail is extensive. I wonder if it just runs along this ridge back up to the top or what. I guarantee you though, I'm very glad to have my walking stick. So, yeah, there's some scratches in here. This is deer. Deer have been up here on this ridge scratching. You can see that's kind of what they do. I think it's mark their territory. They do rubs. They get up against trees and rub their antlers. Maybe scratch their smell into the earth. I think it's kind of like planting their flags. My stuff. I just erected a barbed wire fence. If you're a buck and you come bouncing through here, look for trouble, man. Train of thought. What was I talking about before I started climbing that damn hill? Talking about woodcraft, bushcraft gear. Comparing saws. I'm going to talk about those. I'm going to talk about saws. And I may have to take a break up here and get some water. I've been humping it for a while now. But damn, this trail is awesome. This is, I'm not going to say it's as perilous as the other trail, because the other trail goes down into some drainages that are steep and that you can barely see where the trail is. That had one steep hill climb and one fairly steep hill climb. Was probably dangerous without a walking stick. Maybe not so much when the leaves are dry or gone. Man, this is a very high ridge here. At least it appears to be. Alright. So I'm definitely coming camping out here. I have not decided whether or not I'm bringing a motorcycle. So while I am in transition and cameras, I figured I'd take the pack off. I had my Osmo tucked in here. And I generally try to protect my lenses when I am transporting. If the thing's on my helmet, you know, I'm going to be a little bit more careful anyway. But inside of stuff like this, if there's any kind of, and I've learned this the hard way, you stick your camera in and you scratch your lenses or your LCD screens because there's some kind of grit, sand or something in here, and they bounce around and just scratch the crap out of it. So a good way to ruin your camera if you don't wrap your gear up, and I'll show you a little bit more of that. So funny, this is an old I think it's a Czech Army backpack. I don't get a chance to use this much. I used to keep all my climbing gear in here, but I don't climb much anymore. So I bought a raincoat. I'm glad I didn't pull that out and wear it. It's starting to get hot and sweaty out here. So I've got a couple of more trail cameras I'm going to drop on the side of the trail, and this is what I was talking about earlier, covering your cameras up. So the cameras are mounted on there if you can't tell, but I'll show you those later. I got a little twisty, stiff wire rubber thing to support anything. If I'm going to hang it around a limb or put my selfie stick somewhere, I got that. And then of course I got my, I don't know, about a liter of water in here. And I got my old my mind's gone blank. Machete. My old trusty machete with a It's got a saw on one side, and I've got a lot of miles out of this thing. You can see it's even been dropped in a campfire a couple times, burnt the rubber. My old folding axe, I'm gonna do a demonstration of that, and I'm gonna tell you why I don't like them. And then here's my new camp axe. I think I shot some quick video with that, but I'm gonna do more. And of course, since I'm using my damn folding saw, I brought some, finger savers here, and that's about it. I've got my selfie stick in that pocket, easy access, and the rest of this stuff is going in here until I need it. I'm gonna keep walking until I find something. My next stop is probably gonna be further down the trail. Never had to drink out of this. Usually if I've got a backpack on, I've got my regular Camelback, one of my Camelback backpacks on if I'm trail running or if I'm riding my motorcycle. But in this case, the Camelbacks were just too small to carry all this gear, so, and it fits really good in that check pack. I get dehydrated really easily. So I did step back in here in the woods a little bit, and I meant to tell you, there's this huge cedar back here. This is a little bit of a cedar grove. There's lots of little cedars in here. There's one, there's a few more back there, there's one. But there's this monster here. You just don't see cedars like that very often anymore. And cedars, although they don't live forever, they will sit forever until the microorganisms get to them, because the bugs don't. The beetles and termites, and they don't like cedar. Which is why, if you don't understand, that's why they made cedar cabinets. You could put your clothes inside a cabinet, not worried about you don't have to worry about the moths and the insects getting to your stuff, because cedar has some kind of a natural repellent. Maybe I'll insert some kind of a little clip here and talk about cedar and the magical natural repellency of bugs to cedar. Starting to get tired. My brain's starting to get tired. I'm wondering if this is a trail. I do want to get over here and look at this other tree. This certainly came down the other day during the storm. That was just 3 days ago. So Sunday, it's Wednesday. And yeah, that's a clean break. You can even smell the pine. Wow, that's very strong. Yeah, so you don't want to be up in the middle of this. I've got a couple of examples to show you on the way out of the damage that was caused shortly after I left, because the real storm came through. The real strong winds came through maybe less than 30 minutes after I got out of the woods. I'd say maybe less than 15 minutes. I was lucky to get out of there. I made it into a funny and light experience, but it could have been ugly. I mean, you could see that tree may have been toppled too. That looks like a dead tree, but that could have easily come down the other day. That one, and about, I don't know, maybe a dozen more that I passed on the way in here. I'm not sure which way to go. I want to see more, but I'm not sure I want to descend. But I don't see a clear path here. Let me walk up here a little bit further. I do want to get down in where there's a little bit more trees and maybe show you some differences. Now, this is a cedar. This thing has probably been down. I wouldn't be surprised if this tree has been down 20 years. But you'll never see a pine that looks like this. It's been down probably more than a year. There's another cedar. So most likely, well, I say that's a cedar. Sure does look like a cedar from here. It's just not coming undone. Now that could be, yeah, that's a cedar. You can see the grains in the wood. So there's several cedars down in here. There's another one that's leaning, but it's still alive. It's still got green on it. Yeah, so when the winds knock them down, most often they'll die at some point, but they just don't decay. So what you see taking care of them is the microorganisms, this moss and these lichens and bacteria. But it's going to be the microorganisms that break it down, because it's not going to be termites. It's not going to be beetles. Like 90% of the dead pines you see out here are going to be dead because the pine beetle got into them. Little bit of a southern ecology thing there. I probably should schedule some woods trips with some ecologists. We had this great professor, Dr. Doug, and he had these great videos on local public TV, and these great videos. He seemed like a relatively young guy, you know, country, southern, I don't want to say ridiculously southern, just regular southern accent. Dr. Doug Phillips. Doug would take his Labrador out in the woods with him on these what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of the show. It may have been Exploring Alabama. I'm gonna insert a clip if I can find it, but it's such great shows.
In many ways has escaped the hustle and bustle of modern civilization. A place with bountiful backcountry, forests, streams, and wildlife more diverse than can be found in much of the inhabited world. Come along with me as we explore the natural wonders of this land. Come along as we discover Alabama. Welcome to another program in the Discovering Alabama series. Today we're going to float the beautiful Cahaba River. And joining us today is Mr. Bill Reeves from the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, Doug.
We got us a warm day today. I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
We might sweat a little. Bill's going to go downstream and do some fisheries studies. I'm going to put in a canoe down, pick him up, and we'll travel together from that point on. So, Bill, I guess we'll get you started.
Okay.
And I'll get started.
We'll seat downstream.
Okay, all right. Good enough.
But he would take his Labrador with him into the woods, just like I'm doing, and talk about ecology, talk about history, talk about culture, and talk about all kinds of things that are extraordinarily interesting. But I'm pretty sure he was a biologist or... Anyway, Dr. Doug Phillips, he would take his lab through the woods, exploring the best things. This is how I found him. I used to take my dogs paddling. Had a big 16-foot canoe, and I would take my dogs down rivers, the same rivers that he would go. And I saw him exploring on PBS one day, and he's paddling down, I think it was a river, maybe the Sipsey, with his dogs. Or no, I'm sorry, with his dog. I paddled with two dogs. I had two German Shepherds. And I would paddle and camp with those dogs, and they were so much fun. Anyway, so he's done several videos, maybe as many as I've seen him hiking. I've seen him paddling down a river or a lake, talking about history of Alabama, talking about the trees and the animals, and it's a fascinating show. I wished I could find an easy way to watch those again, because it's amazing. Anyway, the ones I remember were him paddling with his dog. You know, he's paddling along. I think he's got a TV crew there with him, because he certainly didn't do what I'm doing. He had support. Or at least that's what I remember. I don't remember him ever. Yeah, I'll definitely have to go back and look at those. Dr. Doug Phillips. Exploring Alabama, Amazing Alabama. I think we're running a trail here. I sure wouldn't mind camping on top of this ridge though. That would be pretty neat. Maybe I should go up here and see how far it is to drop back down on the road. Well, actually, since I am sitting here with this big ass log just waiting for my big ass. So maybe this is a time for me to go through Backcountry Navigator too. Yeah, I've never sat and played with this thing while I was moving, so I'll have to take a look at that when I get back. But you got all kinds of choices of maps on here. That's why I love this. That's where I started, right here. That's the trailhead, and that's my hike, and that's where I turned off and zigzagged through here. So if I turn back to the road right now, I think I might be struggling through some pretty wicked. So here's the great thing I love about this. Unlike regular GPS trackers stuff, you can change your maps while you're, like, if I wanted to go to a topo map, boom, here I am. Now I'm looking at the same position with a topo map. I mean, if you don't have these maps downloaded before you go out in the middle of nowhere, you should do that. But typically that's what I do. And I've got this same app running on a tablet in case I want to do some bigger expanding, because I hate cell phones. Even a big ass phone like this is just not. So if I follow this ridge, well, okay, look, I am not that far away from what looks like a trail. So maybe that's what I should do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to follow this ridge on up here. That's what I'm going to do right now. By golly, am I still filming? I'm still filming. So I'm still kind of playing with this headset. I've used minimally. I have used a minimal setup with a headset, but I've always been disappointed. It was kind of like a homemade version that was really tight to my head, and I used it with my old GoPro, which was not very stable, but I wanted to. It was an experiment, just like I was talking about earlier. Experimenting leads you to discoveries, some good, some bad. That was a bad experiment. I like being able to use my hands and project the feeling of being connected and engaged specifically. Like, you know, I've also put a selfie stick on the, or I put a camera on the end of a stick or selfie stick and turned it behind me, and, you know, had that perspective. I've done all kinds of experimenting with cameras, and I'm probably far from being done with experimenting, because I'm experimenting today. But I would say, get out and play with your cameras. Get out and play with your phone, especially your phone. You've already got your phone, you're not using it. Get a selfie stick. Get out and play with your phone. Shoot some video. Come back and watch it. Come back, put it on your computer and watch it and see what you got. And then get rid of the fluff and take mental notes of what worked and what didn't. Probably a lot of stuff that you'd be surprised what worked, maybe a lot more of what didn't. But nevertheless, if you don't shoot, you're never going to know. If you don't share, you're definitely never going to know. Some of the stuff, like, I'm usually surprised what the videos that I make, some of the stuff I make, I think, man, people are going to love this. And they don't watch it, or they don't react the way I had hoped. And then some of the crappiest stuff I've ever put out in my life is a real hit. I don't understand it. I mean, I want to say that there's no accounting for taste, but really, if you think about it, oh, my guy said fire ring. I'm seeing a lot of rocks on this trip, but they're not over there. Obviously there's a lot of erosion up here. Maybe, yeah, this maybe looks like this was, this was cut not too long ago. There's another critter getting in the ground there. Those could be squirrels or some raccoon type critter. I don't know. But back to what I was saying is, wow. You never know what people are gonna enjoy. You never know what people are gonna relate to. That's why I always say, shoot video, share it. You know, refine it. Take the bloopers out if you want to. Got a picture of you scratching your balls or picking your nose, take that stuff out if it embarrasses you. Or put it in a blooper reel. My God, I think I could probably make just as many videos with my bloopers as I could with the stuff that's intentional. Now this, yeah, I think I'm gonna stand clear of that thing. There's another snap couple of trees. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Well, there's 3 trees up here. Yeah, this is on a ridge. Not seeing too many snap trees down in the valley. That was my intention the other day, was when that wind came over and I thought it was a damn tornado, it scared the crap out of me. I was thinking, okay, what am I doing? Where's my bunker? It's funny, it's all that irony. But my original plan is, you know, I knew I'm exposed out here in the woods, probably much more so than anybody outside in their front yard. If you're in your front yard, number one, you can hop back in the house. Number two, you may not have as many trees, but there's nothing but dead standing trees out here. Well, I won't say nothing. There's a lot of dead standing trees. And then the stuff that got knocked over, that's alive, got knocked over. That's alive, got knocked over, although all these look like they got beetles in them because that one's dying. That one was dying before the wind got it. That's dying. That's got beetles in it. Well, so back to what I was saying. Shoot the video, cut the fluff out, share. Make sure people, you know, watch it. Put your big boy pants on and expect some criticism. I get a lot of criticism, but it's usually about the wrong things. People are criticizing typically something they don't know anything about. If they were saying, geez, Dawn, I wish you wouldn't point the camera towards your face so much, it hurts my eyes, I would be like, yeah. Imagine if you had to wake up to this face every morning. You had to look at it every time you shaved. Just imagine how bad I've got it. That would be my response. But most of the time it's bizarre stuff like, how dare you have different ideas than I do? Or how dare you do something that's improper, I judge as proper. Usually I don't respond real well to not criticism, but most of the time it's kind of irrational. It comes from emotions, not logic. And those are the things that I have trouble with. And usually I respond in kind to those angry, hateful comments. And I've got quite a few on my dark side videos. And I'm going back into that wasp nest shooting. I wonder what this is. Is that funky? I believe it is. That is that funky fungus that grows on something. I don't remember. I can't remember if that stuff is valuable, what the use is, but I know where the shit is growing. So if somebody says, oh, you found some of that funky fungal stuff, I'd be like, yeah, I know exactly where it is. It's on that ridge at the top of the peak. So now, when I get up here at the top, I'm gonna sit down and rest, drink some more water, because I feel like I just walked up Mount Everest. I think I may have found the trail. Yeah, this is pretty exciting. So, if I did choose to camp up here, this is probably where I'd go. It's got the best, almost all around view up here. Be nice if I could hack down some old growth up here and get a better view, even in the summer. So I wonder what that double red stripe is for. The blue is for trail. The red, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure this means I am back on the trail. That looks like it's leading right up through there. Very happy to be back on the trail. Yeah, this is about where it should come up anyway. I was just thinking the drainage was going to be further that way. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to wander through the woods aimlessly. But this is nice. So this looks like not a trail marker, but perhaps one of those geo markers. That's exactly what it is. Geo marker. Corps of Engineers. So we're on Corps of Engineers property, which is good. But by God, I think we may be off the trail here. Huh. So this may be, here's where the marker is. In between, but the last tree was, yeah. I like running into stuff like this. So let me see if I can make sense out of this. So as not to get lost. All right, so I got a pretty good GPS signal, I'm assuming. So what I'm gonna do is zoom in on my position and drop a pin dead on top of this thing. And we're gonna call this 1980. Nope, wrong side. And now, accept marker. This hiking trail, I think we're still Corps of Engineers here, but it's also really good to know if there is a spot. What would be awesome if I could find the other trail that's maybe hidden, maybe get my bike off the road quickly and easily and get back in here without having to go down somebody else's trail, or at least a heavily traveled trail. I think the main trail that I started on back there, was, I would say, fairly well traveled. I mean, we're out in the middle of, I don't want to say nowhere, but we're far away from the population center of Tuscaloosa, which is the nearest town. So there's not a lot of people, I don't think, that come this far out to go hiking, sadly. But there's a few people. I've been in here several times when I've seen a car parked, assuming they're out hiking. You know, they could be out here tending to their to their little illegal patch of farming products. But I'd just assume that, you know, somebody's parked at a trailhead, they're out hiking. But you never know. You never know what they're doing. They may be out here filming, may be out here testing their camera equipment, testing their chopping, sawing, bushcraft, woodcraft skills. You never know. But this is a interesting little result, and I'm happy for it. I don't like climbing, descending, slippery hills when I'm tired. And I'm tired, maybe a little bit dehydrated too. Let me see if I can easily find that other trail, which is just down the road here. How many people come through? Guess that means they dump more. My selfie stick tripod that I'm so proud of and talk about all the time nowadays, because I want folks to know about it. But I also have this, I don't know, these things are $3, $4. You buy them by the set. Usually there's shorter and longer versions. You get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, hardware stores. They're bendy, rubberized, basically wire that's rubberized, and they're really good for hanging your phone, or in this case, I'm going to try to do some kind of a wide angle thingy where I've got, let's see, I'm trying to get this tree in the frame, and I want to be able to hold this thing up. So if I just one time around this thing, and then, well, maybe if I give it a little bit more oomph. So now this thing is not going to fall down on me, hopefully. So click record and walk away. Money into it when more people show up. I don't know. So yeah, let's get back down in here, do my experimenting. Because I sure as hell have burned enough video today. So I've been trying to switch things up a good bit, trying to do some things differently, do things more interestingly. But you know, I never know. I never know what's going to hit and what's not. I never know what's interesting and what's not. I think I said that earlier. You make assumptions. Hey, I would enjoy this if somebody made a video like this. You put it out there, you put a lot of effort into it, and then you get a whole lot of nothing. So there's that. So let me see if I can set this camera up, my cell phone, on this selfie stick and see what happens there. My selfie stick tripod that I'm so proud of and talk about all the time nowadays, because I want folks to know about it. But I also have this, I don't know, these things are $3, $4. You buy them by the set. Usually there's shorter and longer versions. You get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, hardware stores. They're bendy, rubberized, basically wire that's rubberized, and they're really good for hanging your phone, or in this case, I'm going to try to do a some kind of a wide angle thingy where I've got, let's see, I'm trying to get this tree in the frame, and I want to be able to hold this thing up. So if I just one time around this thing, and then, well, maybe if I give it a little bit more oomph. So now this thing is not going to fall down on me, hopefully. So click record and walk away. And walk away. Now I think I'm filming pretty close to what I want to do. I'm going to do some hacking and sawing for a demo. 3 devices. Carried that around forever. It's pretty good because it's lightweight. It's not real heavy. Unlike this damn, may not get these stuff filmed at all today. Axe. I love this axe. It's fairly cheap, probably about as cheap as this old Gerber, and then this ridiculously ineffective saw. It's very sharp, but it scares me, and that's probably my biggest problem with the saw is you don't keep a good grip on that damn thing, and it's going to cause you some headache. It's got a little strap, I guess. I'm not even sure what the strap is for. I mean, it's got a good grip. Maybe this is just not a long enough saw. I don't know. But it's typically it's been more of a, hey, I just want a nice clean cut on a stick. But I want firewood. That's what I'm doing. I'm chopping firewood. So this is not a, so golly, there's not much I want to get through here. Maybe that's what I should do. I'm 8 seconds in. I want to see how far I can get on this old rotten, and this is the kind of stuff that I would want to saw on. So this is maybe this is probably twice as thick as I would want to saw. So it's making progress, but my fear has always been, I slip, make a mistake, and cut my damn thumb off or my fingers off, and I don't want to be out in the woods missing a finger, bleeding to death, have to suffer from infection, all that. But that's kind of a quick example. So I would guess these things are, if you're building a shelter or something like that, or if you got some small sticks like this, I'm not even going to waste my time on something like this. I'm just going to go snap. If that's going into my fire, and this very well could, I'm not even going to waste my time. So if this kind of saw is what I'm going to take into the woods for bushcraft, it's just almost pointless. The only thing that's good about it, folds up and you can almost put it in your pocket. So for years I have been making do with something similar. It's got a much bigger saw on the back. So if you think about it, this is a much better option. Much more stroke. Same idea, except you got a blade on both sides. So double the damage, and you can really cut the shit out of your fingers if you just kind of slipped off this side. So, and this came with a lanyard till I burned it off in a fire. The thing that I've always liked about it is you could chop. And if you're walking through some of the territory that I was walking through earlier, you can cut your way through when it's sharp. I haven't sharpened it in quite some time. It's pretty dull. But for now, I have decided that, and I could change. I've always been interested in the real folding, the bow saws, the things that, you got a long blade, seems like they're 3 or 4 pieces. They collapse into something that's probably about this size. You got a long blade, and you got a like a bow saw, like a pruning saw. It's big. It's got a long stroke. You get your fingers away from the blade, something like that collapses into something this small, maybe a little bit lighter. I would be totally down with that. And I know I'm taking my life in my hands, but I just wanted to swing this axe and show you. It's got a hell of a bite. I mean, you can really go through a lot of wood really quick with this tiny little lightweight, you know, in comparison, this is a lightweight saw or a lightweight axe, but it really makes short work of wood, especially if you're doing any kind of bushcraft. But like I was saying, I would definitely consider a lightweight collapsible bow saw. But I'll be damned, you can make one 3 times as big as that folding saw, I won't be interested. So last time I was out here, I said on the way back up, I'm going to see if I can knock this Widowmaker over. But looking at it and pushing on it, no, this thing's going to have to be taken care of. And I'm making my attempt. I smell all that sap. Now this one's got a hole for a lanyard, and as loosely as I'm holding on to this thing, I should probably tie a lanyard on here, but I don't have any paracord on me today because this was just going to be a short trip. I'm just experimenting. Wow, really not doing much damage at all underneath because I'm hammering basically a flake like that. There's some sap. So I think the problem is going to be when I get through this thing, it's gonna, instead of falling like that, it's gonna, because it's sitting on a support up here, it's gonna fall like that. If the support was down lower, it might be falling already. That's kind of, gotta be careful. I don't chop a lot of trees down, but I've cut quite a few down with a chainsaw, and you kind of always got to be careful when you cut, especially when they're sitting on stuff like this, because sometimes they'll twist, they'll pop up towards you, they'll pop up against you, they'll pop up, come back down, and all kinds of crazy stuff that until you see all the insanity that people in the woods have to put up with, you don't know what to expect. I tell you, I've watched a few of those lumberjack shows, but they talk about being careful, but they don't talk so much about, at least maybe I haven't watched enough, but they don't talk enough about, hey, so you're chopping this thing down. Keep in mind that when it hits that next limb going down, it's going to bounce back, it's going to hit the ground, it's going to bounce back up and hit you in the mouth and kill you. They don't say stuff like that. At least I've never seen it.
Holy crap, are you still here? Man, this is the longest video I have ever made while I was talking to the camera. So if you're still here, that must mean that you're interested in this kind of stuff. So If you haven't subscribed already, click the subscribe button, the like button, share with your friends. I'm not sure any of your friends are crazy enough to watch an hour-long video, but if they are, share it. Share it on Facebook, send it in an email, social media, that kind of stuff. Anyway, check back later. I'm going to do some more stuff in the woods, definitely, and I'm probably going to get my kayak out and paddle some and maybe even do some fishing. So this is going to maybe be a series, so check it out. Thanks for watching. My God, an hour. Holy crap.
This one's got a